What is up, you guys? So hopefully nobody walks in here while I'm filming this. So you've very often probably heard of rich Jews. Like, you hear about them in the media, you hear about them in the news, and like, you know, in movies and stories, you know, all these like rich ass Jews living in the fanciest part of town, driving the nicest cars, owning all the businesses and all the banks and the media and everything. You hear about the Jews running academic institutions and being, you know, at the top of everything and using their nepotism to get to the top of every industry. But rarely do you ever hear about the poor Jews. And I am here to tell you that there are a lot of poor Jews out there that you have never heard of. And the reason why is because it's not that exciting to think of Jews as poor, but there are a lot of poor Jews. And I wanted to focus on one type, and that is Kollel. Kollel is a system that is primarily in the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community, and it's a system in which people mostly reject earthly desires and materialism and secular things, secular materialistic desires, and they spend, especially the men, they spend most of their days studying Torah. And while the men are studying all day long, the women usually become the breadwinners, or since the women are also busy having a lot of kids and not using birth control, usually a family member will help financially, such as the parents, the in-laws, and in many cases, the local government will step in with welfare. So in some cities across the world, heavily in Israel, but also in certain cities across the United States, in the UK, in different places, a lot of the people that you will hear being dependent on government welfare are going to be poor Jews. They're going to be Jews that have abandoned the materialistic lifestyle associated with working and making money, and they have embraced the life that is completely devoted to God and completely devoted to Bible study. And I know that there's, you know, people think of this as a very Christian thing, rejecting materialism and earthly ideals, and, you know, focusing on devoting your whole life to God and not working and making money and just, you know, just devoting your whole being for God. But people rarely think of this as a Jewish thing, but it's a very Jewish thing, and there's a lot of Jews doing this. And in fact, whenever I talk to Israelis, secular Israelis, a lot of secular Israelis seem worried that there's so many non-working Jews living in Israel. They feel like, oh no, I'm working and paying into taxes, and then it's going to go to government welfare receivers, and they're not even going to appreciate it, and they're not even going to let their kids go to work even, and it's just going to create this whole cycle of poverty and all that stuff. And so, you know, I will probably knock on this concept a lot, the concept of Kollel. Any idea that encourages people's kids to just not go to work and reject money, reject earthly ideals, that any kind of ideology like that, to me, is trash. But I do know a lot of people that are Kollel that are happily involved in the Kollel lifestyles. A lot of my family members are doing that, albeit I don't think they're doing it permanently. You better not be doing this permanently. For a short period of time, it's something that is supposed to enlighten you, make you feel at one with your life, with your partner, with God, and kind of reject the rat race in the West. And a lot of times people will move to Israel or, like, you know, some other place that's cheaper. And although Israel is not really cheaper anymore, but they'll go somewhere else from where they normally would make money, just to let go and focus on their relationship with God. But for a lot of people, it ends up being a permanent thing, and they become permanently dependent on government welfare, and they use all sorts of excuses, you know, to justify why they need to permanently be in that lifestyle. And then in order to make themselves feel even better, they teach their kids that, like, you know, making money and chasing after money is like the root of all evil, even though the way that they're surviving is on other people's money. So chasing after money is the root of all evil to them, but they're perfectly fine and happy being fed by their parents, in-laws, government, other taxpayers that they very blatantly have no respect for and think are just scum of the earth for being secular and being part of like the money-making rat race. I will definitely dunk on it, and this is an ideology. It's not a small subset of Judaism. It's a huge population within ultra-Orthodox Judaism. You won't find a lot of modern Orthodox Jews doing this, because modern Orthodoxy was born from the idea that, yeah, we have to follow the old Orthodox laws and the traditional Jewish values, but we also want to be part of the world and adapt and be educated and all that stuff. So modern Orthodox Jews will tend to not do that. They'll tend to, if they study Talmud and Old Testament and all that stuff, and I say Old Testament to communicate with non-Jews, but I'm talking about the Talmud and Tanakh and whatever. If they're studying Torah-related stuff, they're gonna try to be a little more holistic, and they're also gonna go and get jobs out in the world. But within the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community, it's become very widespread to just not work, and especially in a lot of Western countries, because access to welfare has become very widespread. There are a lot of options, and it's become so hard to start your own business and become an entrepreneur that the gap between people that are dependent on welfare and very successful entrepreneurs has widened. So a lot of people are getting to the point where they're like, oh, well, I want to be, you know what, I'd rather just be alone with God anyway, and money is the root of all evil anyway. So there's definitely a huge and growing, and then especially because those are the people that are having a lot of kids, which is great. I think you should definitely have a lot of kids, but I think that when you are a person that despises wealth and despises working hard and working, and you don't have to love working, but when you're a person that despises growth and financial success and material wealth, earthly possessions, and you raise a whole generation of kids to never learn how to survive and create value, like monetary, earthly value in the world, and to forever learn to be dependent on other people, you're basically just raising a generation of deadbeats. That's what you're contributing to the world, and I don't have respect for that. You're raising a generation of stuck-up deadbeats that think that they are divine and highly better than everybody else because they have a relationship with God that nobody else does. No, what they have is a lack of financial survival skills. That's what they have, and a lot of people will inhibit their kids from learning like basic skills because they're so afraid that their kids will go out in the world and decide that they want to be secular, so they'll just like purposely handicap their kids, not teach them like languages and things like that. Anyway, this is like a whole long thing, and I don't know, maybe I'll show you some pictures of what the outfits and stuff look like. I think it is stupid. It's stupid. You know, people think that this is a Christian value, the idea of like, put your head down, be humble, don't aspire for anything great in life, everything is nothing, you know, and it's like, okay, there are some ideas that you can take away from that about humility and not being obsessed with like Versace and all the riches in the world, but the weird thing about this lifestyle is that I have never seen people that are so obsessed with impressing each other that I have in the kollel world. the thing about the kollel world is because you're in a community of people that are so insulated and they're so stuck with each other and they're so cookie cutter and everybody is like the same exact way. Everybody's dressing the same. Everybody's wearing black from head to toe and they're even sounding the same. And nobody has a job, and except for the women sometimes, you know, they all have the same exact job, you know, like speech therapist or, you know, secretary or some kind of teacher or something. And so because everybody ends up becoming so cookie cutter and so similar, they do in fact end up trying to one-up each other a lot and try to create their sense of individuality in that community, subconsciously perhaps. And a lot of times that does translate into, you know, using brand names to try to one up each other. And so a lot of times you'll see people spending all kinds of money they don't have on dumb things like brands. And guess what brand name Versace and Gucci and Baby Boop and whatever that, you know, not Baby Boop, what's that brand name stroller called that everybody, Bugaboo strollers? It's like, okay, if you can afford a Bugaboo stroller, great. But half the time people are just posing for other people in their community. And what is more ego-driven and earthly material than that? Stop looking down at other people that are actually learning survivability skills in the world. And maybe you don't have to buy the brand names, and then maybe you can still be humble and non-earthly and still devoted to God. Oh, here's another thing, by the way. I very often will see on Facebook, I will often see, you know, someone very well-intentioned, some very well-intentioned person will get on Facebook and be like, guys, there's a couple that doesn't have enough money to get married, and they'll raise money for like some couple to spend like $30,000 or $40,000 on a wedding, and they'll fundraise it. Like everybody in the community get together, help these people because they don't have enough money for their dream wedding. It's like, guys, what is more earthly and materialistic than that? You're crying for this couple because they don't have $30,000 or $40,000 to blow on their dream wedding. How about, you know, we go back to the old days when people didn't have these cookie cutter weddings where everybody spent a ton of money one-upping each other. You know, how about you just get married on the beach? It's much nicer. You can buy a little white dress from Walmart. I mean, personally, even after making a lot of money and spending a lot of time working, I still don't want to spend $30,000, $40,000 on a wedding. I still want to get married on the beach and look pretty in my little Walmart white dress. You know, like you could still enjoy getting married and you don't have to be, you know, in dire poverty, and you don't have to be this poor couple that everybody cries for because they don't have anything. It's like, guys, get your priorities straight. Stop spending $30,000 or $40,000 on a wedding and then blowing the rest of your money living a lifestyle that is like completely antithetical to surviving, and then having 1 million kids that are completely financially like incapable and completely ignorant of any survival skills. Guys, it's stupid, and it makes me cringe whenever I see this. It's like, if you want to be devoted to God, just I don't know, just be a monk. Just actually be like, do what the Christians do. Just be a monk and don't reproduce, you know, go live in a monastery and call it a day. And stop like trying to do that while wearing a Versace belt. It doesn't make sense. So anyway, this is a lot of subtweeting right here, but I will see you guys in the next video, and I hope that was informative at the very least.